Let's talk about the math, if you will.
Go ahead.
So clearly we're halfway through the fiscal year, and while sales tax collections have been surprisingly strong, perhaps in regards to the now Amazon tax, when you look at all the host of other published tax collections, they're dramatically off. Clearly we're not privy in the press directly to the rate of public income tax collections or corporate income tax collections. Number one, given your immersion in the COVID issue, obviously that's been your priority, but have you had an opportunity to have any type of incoming budget conference with the House, with the Department of Revenue, to understand where we are relative to the balance of the fiscal year, and to amplify an earlier asked question, is it time for shared sacrifice in the state? Will there be furloughs? Will there be budget cuts in what is clearly going to be potentially off-the-cliff experience fiscally?
Well, all of above on those meetings you talked about with the Senate, the President, the budget, the revenue. And it's too early to answer the second question because we don't know what the stimulus is going to be. We don't know what those are. Certainly anticipating that the stimulus is going to be very aggressive based on a new president in Washington. So until you have those numbers, you're not going to speculate on those, on those outcomes, what you're going to have to do.
But ultimately, we're running into a situation which seems to be an annual event in Rhode Island, and where as we approach the end of the fiscal year, the ability to catch up to the math simply becomes on a day-to-day basis increasingly compressed. What's been astonishing to taxpayers throughout this entire experience has been the absence of any type of fiscal responsibility. It's not your fault, you're just assuming power now, but there's been no budget cuts, no furloughs, nothing, operating as if this were a normal year, and in fact, even net of the federal transfer payments, increase the budget. At what point does somebody put a brake on this?
Well, it's extraordinary times, it's not normal times, right? So we need to make sure that before we ask taxpayers to pay more or workers out there to pay, to have less, we got to see the numbers, and that's what we'll do. And I'll be happy to follow up, as I have with many of the reporters here, specifically on that. But we want to keep this on the COVID issues. On this question.
Will you, as governor, issue, and it was discussed earlier with Governor Raimondo, will you an edict, an executive order, eliminating some of the filing fees, the penalties, the fines, and all the death by 1,000 paper cuts that doing business in Rhode Island represents, particularly for businesses who can't legally operate right now?
I'd expect that and more.